I'm back! Welcome to You, Me, and Tea. The tea I'm drinking today is the Republic of Tea brand Vanilla Almond. It's super, super good. It smells really good. It smells like vanilla. A very warm, sweet tea. I wanted to give you guys an update video. Feels like it's been a hot minute since I've talked and had You, Me, and Tea. And many of you have been asking, Ariel, when's the next You, Me, and Tea? What are you doing with your life right now? Give me some updates. Because you insist, I'll give you some updates. I'm back at home in Ohio in the United States. What up? I had spent 10 months in Spain, in Madrid, teaching English and living and doing music-y things, playing a lot of gigs and traveling and just finding myself. I wanted to share with you 10 things that I learned while I was in Spain. So moving abroad is very scary and exciting and thrilling and adventurous and blah 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 adjectives. I left the United States last September. I spent 10 months living in Madrid and I had no job when I arrived, no place to stay, and I knew 0 people who lived there. So that was very scary, but I survived it and it was amazing. I learned so much about myself in those 10 months, probably than I've learned in my entire life, accumulated. So I wanted to share with you 10 things that I learned while I was away in Madrid. Number 1, trying new things is amazing. And I kind of already knew that, and I was kind of like an adventurous person before moving abroad to Spain, but it just like solidified that. So like traveling alone, traveling with new people, group trips, like group weekend trips are so fun. Trying new food. I tried a bull's tail. I tried jamon serrano, which is like a specialty in Spain. Tried olives. I wasn't a fan of those. I tried tinto de verano, which is like red wine mixed with lemonade, and they drink that. It's kind of like sangria, except if you're a local in Madrid, that's what you drink. Sangria is more for the tourists. I rode a camel in Morocco. I went to Paris and I tried macarons. I took a solo trip to the island of Mallorca and I saw a music festival for the first time. Trying new things is really, really good, and it's like the best way for you to grow quickly. Challenging yourself is so important. Number 2, my Spanish is not as good as I thought it was gonna be when I got back. I did a Q&A of like me moving to Spain, and it was a You, Me, and Tea. It was before I left and I was sitting here in this spot actually. Chase, and let's spill the tea on what I'm doing. There's a big life change that's happening. It's called me moving to Spain for a year and indefinitely teaching. And it was before I left, and I was like predicting like all these things that I would learn and these people I would meet and what I would learn about myself. It's weird to think that there's like all these people that I haven't met yet who I'm going to be really close to by this time next year. Link down below to that if you want to see old me. So I thought that I would be fluent by the time that I got back. Because I'm moving to Spain, I really want to get better at Spanish. Being immersed in the culture will help me learn the language more. So I'm hoping I'll be almost fluent by the time I get back next year. I really, really hope. And turns out my Spanish is better, but it's not fluent. Heck no. My Spanish is decent at best. I'd give myself like an intermediate level of Spanish. It's really not something that I'm proud of. And everyone's been asking me since I've been back home, like, oh, you must be fluent in Spanish at this point. Like, you did your student teaching there and then you lived there for 10 months. No, I probably could have put more effort into it, and that's why I am not fluent right now. Number 3, making a home from scratch is more difficult than I was anticipating. Also in that old You, Me, and Tea video, I talked about how exciting it would be to have my own room and to like rent in an apartment with other people and like not live in my parents' house. Of course, like I loved living in my own apartment and paying my own rent with money that I earned. That was super, super like adulting. But a struggle point for me was like making that place into a home. It's one thing to decorate it, and it's another thing to like feel like you're actually in a home. I felt really lonely a lot of the time, especially at the beginning when I first got to Spain, because I was just meeting people. I was like trying to find my place. Like, where do I fit? What am I gonna do? Bah. That was a huge thing, and I feel like I just got the hang of that right before I left 10 months later. So it takes a long time. But along with this, it's super important to invest in comfortable things, which I didn't know. I'm usually pretty stingy when it comes to spending money. Like buying more expensive stuff for the sake of comfort. Like I've always just been like, I'll just put up with this crappy pillow and blanket that I got for like $5. And even if it's scratchy, I don't care because I'm saving money. I would do that. So what I learned is that there are certain things that you should really invest money into, and it's worth the investment for the sake of your own comfort. As an example, I invested money in an electric tea kettle because for a while I was heating water for tea and for like instant coffee, I was heating it in a saucepan over a fire on my stove. That took way too long. And then me and my old flatmate, Andrea, decided to go halvesies on an electric kettle. And it was like a game changer. It heated up water so much faster. It took like a minute instead of like 5 minutes. That was a worthy investment. It only ended up being like 25 euros anyway. Next thing, number 4. This is a personal development thing that I learned about myself. I am way more capable of handling stress, like stressful situations, than I thought I was. Throwing yourself in a situation like living abroad and not knowing anyone and not knowing how the city works and not knowing the language very well and all that, throwing yourself into that instantly determines for you whether or not you can handle it. And turns out I can handle it, so that's pretty cool. Oh, just a quick brag moment. For example, I'm way more capable of like navigating through a city than I thought. I have a little story. There was a lot of moments like this, but this is just like one specific story. I've always been notoriously bad at directions, but when I was thrown into a situation where it's a super late night, it was probably like the first month or so that I was in Spain, and I didn't know the city very well, and I didn't know exactly what neighborhood I was living in. Like I knew where my apartment was, but like I didn't know where it was in relation to other neighborhoods yet. I was coming back from like a party at my friend's apartment, and it was like 2 or 3 a.m. and I was walking home. My phone dies, and then also like I wasn't really paying attention to where my friend's apartment was, and that was the first time I ever went there, so I didn't know how to go back to her apartment to be like, hey, my phone died, can I just stay over here? So I had to find my way home. Buses didn't run that late, the metro was closed, so what I did was I knew I was close to the river and I just used logic. So I mean, it's like pretty simple, but this was something I had to learn for myself. I was like, well, Madrid's kind of like up on a hill, and like I knew that the further downhill I went, I was gonna hit the river, and once I hit the river I knew where I lived because my apartment was like right on the other side of the river. So I used my logic and I was like, okay, I guess I'll just walk downhill and then eventually hit the river. It did take me like 40 minutes to walk home, but I did find my way home. So, you know, navigating. I'm more capable of it than I thought I was. Ayo. 5. Relationships / friendships / like dating ships, whatever ship you're in, it is super, super important to be honest right away with the other person because it makes things so much easier in the long run. There were instances where I held off telling the truth way too long, and then it just ended up making it a super bigger deal than it should have been. As soon as you figure out how you feel, make sure you tell the other person as soon as you know. So that's something that I learned. Okay. Number 6 kind of goes along with this, but being vulnerable is very scary for everyone, especially like new relationship-y things. Being vulnerable is super scary. So whatever pace you need to go to like get to know someone and open up and trust them, whatever pace that is for you is 100% okay. Number 7, this is like a thing that I'm dealing with presently also. Just because someone doesn't message you back right away doesn't mean that they don't want to message you back right away or they don't want to talk to you. It also doesn't mean that you are not valuable. It just means that people are busy, man. People got stuff to do, and like sometimes they just can't reply to you right away. That was a big lesson for me. Still learning it. Number 8, I'm not gonna dive too deeply into this right now, but I did start therapy while I was in Madrid, living there. I started it around March. It's just been like super helpful and healthy and like important to my self-development, and also understanding my past, looking forward to my future, and like learning about how I am as a person and how I function and why I function the way I function and all this fun stuff. The 9th thing that I learned is that people are surprisingly supportive. I had a show in March with my music-y friend Dakil. We had like a live show. I opened for him at Tempo Club in Madrid, and almost every single one of my friends and my acquaintances that I had met in Spain came to see the show and came to support me in the show, and that was like super awesome. I'd only known these people for like a handful of months. That surprises me, I guess, like how willing people are to support you and what you love doing. The 10th and final thing that I learned, if you're passionate about something or you're supposed to be doing something with your life, going in a certain career path or whatever, you will know that you were supposed to be doing that thing because everything else that you're doing that's drawing away from that thing, like you physically cannot do it. You actually cannot stand not doing the thing you're passionate about. This is something that I learned. Music and like creating stuff and like doing videos like this is literally the only thing that I want to do. Everything else, like for example, teaching English, I can't do it. I physically cannot do it. Because I hate it because it's not music and it's not creating stuff. With that being said, my music career and music-y things, I have some big announcements that are coming up very shortly regarding my EP that I've been recording and big career steps, and I'm very excited about it. But y'all gonna have to wait, okay? Okay. So keep your eyeballs peeled. Thank you so much for watching my videos. I hope that maybe this inspires you to go travel and live abroad and just try it. You're gonna learn so much about yourself. So much. That's that, I guess.